Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. We're going to do another Why Did This Fishing Reel Fail video today. And these are courtesy of Bobby. Bobby is in Tennessee. Bobby's got an awful lot of reels. And, well, some of the reels that he has, he can't repair. Doesn't think I can repair them either. But a lot of times they make good case studies for us to understand why these reels are failing and to help you learn how to diagnose potential issues in the reels themselves. And well, this one today is an interesting one. It's a Catmaster and it's by Mudville. Well, I think when I did the initial introduction of the reels that I have to work on, I said Mudville is the old Mudville 9, if I remember from Casey at the bat. Well, at any rate, this is a ball bearing drive reel, missing the handle. We might be able to find a handle if we can make the rest of it work. But I'm not quite sure what's going on with this one. But as I spin it, I'm hearing something inside. I don't know what that is. So we're going to take a look. Let's find out why this reel failed and why it was put on the parts reel pile by someone somewhere that eventually wound up in Bobby's possession, which became a star for the YouTube video. So we're going to start by taking off the spool. Looks like a pretty standard type of a setup above. We have the spool. We have a click ratchet with some shim washers that allow for the adjustment in the line lay height. Checking in the back, there's nothing there that's making the noise. And we have our spool adjuster knob. One of the things that's pretty obvious here is that the counterbalance on this piece is broken and it's installed backwards. So these are the types of things you want to look for as you're working on your reels, or maybe if you're in the business, if you're trying to diagnose what's going wrong here or what went wrong, some of the things that you might find. So I don't know if this is the issue. There would be an issue with a wobble later, but you can see how that fits this way in terms of the contour of that piece. And unfortunately, one piece is broken off. Well, that always makes me wonder, one, about the quality of the reel itself, because that shouldn't happen. And then two, how did it ever break off? When we think about it, when you got this thing and it's attached by a screw and it's pretty tight to the inside of the rotor, there should be nothing that would ever knock that thing off or break it. Well, something did. So I'm not quite sure on that. Okay, next thing I want to look at is how do I remove the case. I believe this side case can be removed without removing the rotor. And you can start to hear now there's something knocking around in there. All right, let's take the bump guard off. Again, this is missing a screw. I don't think in the end of time that this is going to be a repairable reel, so it doesn't really matter too much. When I take my pieces and parts off, well, early on, I like to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you like fishing reel service and repair, if you like to learn how reels are made, who made them, what kind of purposes they serve, and, well, just general information on fishing reels to help you do the reel repair yourself, keep your reels running fine, then subscribing is a great way to do that, and using that notification button lets you know when I'm posting, because I'm posting on all kinds of videos. This is just one of those. Okay, I think we can remove the case without removing the anti-reverse override. This doesn't seem to be operational, but again, when you're doing a repair, particularly if it's not on a reel that you own, you want to make mental notes of all of these things that are going on, and if possible, you want to take some pictures that'll help you to see what it is that may be going right or wrong. All right, we have a metal bushing here. That's a nice idea. And we have a spool that's something's going on in there that won't allow you to turn your spool. I'm not sure if we can remove the main gear without that. So we're going to have to try and pedal this thing. We have to bring this anti-reverse lock down. There we go. Bring it down so that we can get to that screw that's holding on the crosswind block and the axle shaft. If needed, we could have taken that rotor off from the top, but since we have the case open, it looks like the case below is fine, other than that one curiosity with that issue there regarding the broken counterweight. Now, a moment on that counterweight, if you will. There's more weight on one side of the rotor than there is on the other. That's because of the bail mechanism. You can kind of see it here that this is a heavier side than the like. So what they want to do is they want to stop the wobble in the wheel. And as you can see, that counterweight's placed right between the two of them, trying to even out the balance on this. Much like you would put a weight on a tire rim, that would enable you to do just that, balance out where the high or the low spot is. Okay, the main gear, you have to remove the shaft. In order to remove the shaft, to remove the main gear, we have to come back up top here. So I think that's probably a 12 millimeter. I have a 12 millimeter tool. It's an old Mitchell tool. This one actually is a reverse threaded rotor nut, so make a note of that. When you go to put it back on, it turns in the opposite direction. Well, so here's what's going on in here. We have a broken anti-reverse dog. That's probably why this anti-reverse override didn't run. An anti-reverse dog that's broken and shattered. This would have hooked into that. The dog would have been attached right here on that post. And this reel becomes a parts reel. Why is that? No parts are available. This is what we would typically call a trade reel. Somebody manufactured this. Somebody's manufacturer made this. Made it under a generic name called Mudville. That generic name generally is sold in, well, I had somebody from the UK the other day call them grocery store reels. I don't think that's far off, and I can remember some of my trips to Florida and the like. They sell them in a lot of stores like Publix and that, but call them grocery store reels. Sometimes they're sold in bait and tackle shops. Sometimes they're in mass merchants like a Kmart or something like that. But oftentimes they're non-identified reels that are made in mass and sold at a relatively low price. And the low price, well, that comes with its costs. And one of those is that they do not stock parts. And, well, if something breaks, you're out of luck. All right, I just put that back on because that's not going to do us any good. We're just going to close this back up. We're going to just summarize this with lessons learned. So we learned in this case, why did this reel fail? It failed because there's a broken piece and part. We kind of question how those parts broke because, well, this is not an easy thing to have break on you when you break a counterweight. That's kind of an odd piece, right? There's a lot of different things that can break, but that's somewhat odd in and of itself. For some reason, this is just not cooperating with me here. We noticed that the anti-reverse dog was the piece that was broken in this. That was what was flopping around that we heard the noise on. And we know that you cannot get a replacement anti-reverse dog for this reel. Even if you could find that anti-reverse dog, you couldn't find the handle. So, or it's not worth looking for that handle. I would guess that this reel probably was attached to a combination rod, sold as a rod and a reel, and I would guess that the cost of that was probably $29.99 or something like that. So, all right, now we got that back together again. So, lessons learned: you get what you pay for. If you're willing to accept that it's a lower end value reel, if you're willing to accept that no parts will be available to it, it may still fit your needs. So think about that. Who's going to use this reel? Most of the time this is going to be made, used by an occasional angler. They may have a cabin Maybe they just use it on vacation. Maybe that's why I see them all in the stores down in Florida, the grocery stores. Because people come down, they don't want to travel with their tackle. They want to buy an inexpensive rod and reel that they can use, and if needed, give away at the end of their fishing journey, or maybe if they have a summer home there, just leave it in a summer home for the next person up, if you will. And that's always a nice thing to do. So the reels will always do what you need to do, or what you buy them to do. It's just a matter of how much do you really want to spend to do something like that. All right, so this one came off in a reverse thread, so you've got to put it in counterclockwise in order to tighten it back up. Well, we'll have it spinning now because we took the chunks out of it. We won't have any anti-reverse. We won't have any movement in terms of a handle or anything, but we should see that it can turn now. And as for servicing this one is now a parts reel. All right, the last things I'll put on here. I'm going to give this back to Bobby in case he ever has a need to use this for parts. I've never seen one of these in before. I don't expect to see one of these in again. So rather than taking up space, we'll send it home. There you go. It can turn. And you can see for the most part it works. You have an oscillation going on it. That means the axle shaft is going up and down. It's turning, but you have no anti-reverse in it. You saw the brakes on that. And I suspect if you had a handle and started spinning this one fast, you would notice the wobble from the offset of that missing piece from your counterbalance. All right, well, there you go. So I always encourage folks, if the price is right, go find a reel that's broken. Sometimes you get lucky and you can repair them. Sometimes, well, they become learning experiences. I call those tuition reels. And with this case, the tuition was worth the cost of the reel. We learned why this particular reel broke. We started to catalog that experience in terms of, well, if something like that happens again, maybe I should either avoid the purchase of it. For example, I get a reel like this and think maybe it's just missing a handle and a screw. I shake it and there's pieces and parts in there. Well, then you've learned that this is a trade reel. It's not going to be supported by parts availability. So you're going to need to pass on that, right? So we've learned a couple of things, and we learned how this reel was made and some of its weak points as well. I hope you've enjoyed that. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, EMT, everybody involved in doing the public good and keeping us out of harm's way. I want to thank you for watching. I want to encourage you to subscribe. And again, if you have any questions, please leave those questions in the comment section. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.